up, everyone? Welcome back to season 2 of the Let Go, Let God podcast. I'm your host, Erika Ray, and words cannot describe how excited I am to be back here with you guys. It's been a while since season 1. I started back in February 2023, and then I think I went until August is when the last episode was posted, and I decided to take a little break, and the little break turned into a long break. And so I'm so glad to be back here with you guys. I want to share a little bit about what season 2 is going to look like, and then we'll dive into a little baby lesson for this episode. So, my apologies to taking so long to get this restarted. I had intended to take a little break because life got crazy, and then the Lord was like, nope, you're going to take a longer break. So I had a season of just reading His Word and praying, and I got so excited to come back here, and it was just burning in me. The past couple days truly is when I just decided to get it started back up again. So I'm looking forward to sharing what I have for you guys. So if you're new here, this is the Let Go, Let God podcast, and I typically bring on guests and ask them what's the biggest life lesson the Lord has taught you, what's a life-changing lesson the Lord has taught you, and then we talk about that, and it's been super cool. If you haven't listened at all, you can go back and listen to some of the older episodes and kind of see what that's about. I am going to do a little bit of a different dynamic for season 2. I'm going to do a lot more solo episodes. So I feel as though I've been in a pruning season and I've just been learning a ton, and I can't wait to share all of that with you guys. So I still want to bring on some guests, and I want to have some repeat guests as well. But I'm going to be just diving into a lot of different topics, a lot of controversial topics, a lot of very popular topics, and just talk about life. To be honest, those are my favorite types of podcasts, and so those are the ones that inspire me. And so I want to do something like that because it's where my passion is and it gets me fired up. So typically I release these episodes on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, but from now on it's going to be every other Wednesday. So twice a month, you can look out for my episodes. And honestly, I'm still figuring out the full structure of everything. So we're going to just kind of try some things out, see what you guys like, see what goes well, and then we might just make some changes. I was battling with whether or not I should even get anything started yet because I didn't have a full plan, but I felt like the Lord was telling me, just go for it. I'm going to lead you where your feet are. And so here we are. My feet are here. And I'm in a new location, which I was always in a different location before I would travel. My friend slash roommate, she let me use her work office, but we actually just moved to a new house back in August. And so now we're here. You can see my stockings hung up behind me. My whole living room is a winter wonderland. So I'll have to post a video so you guys can see that because it makes me so happy and boosts my serotonin levels significantly that I'm just sitting in here watching everything and seeing how beautifully decorated it is. So new location. I plan on just doing my podcast here. It's so cozy on this couch and it's pretty quiet too. So I plan on just doing them here from now on, but sometimes I like to be mobile. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And in this new season too, I want to talk a little bit more about my personal life because I was interviewing a lot of different people, which I love, and I'm going to continue to do that because it's one of my favorite things to do. But I want to share a little bit more of the personal things that are going on. I don't think I really shared too much about my life and what I like to do and stuff like that. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. But whenever I follow someone to like a podcast, I love to know what they're doing and all the things because they inspire me. So I want to see how they do things in their daily lives. So I did share my testimony in season 1, so we're not really going to get into that again. I think the cool thing about testimonies too is they're always evolving, so there will be new parts of my testimony added to that. But I just want to share a couple of fun personal facts about me. So I live in Arizona, born and raised here. I love it here. I do not like the cold, so I'm pretty cozy here in Arizona. And I love to go hiking. I love to read. I love to try new coffee shops. I love to just be active, do anything outside that I can, especially in Arizona. The weather is usually super great. So I love doing that. I love to play board games and have game nights. That is one of my ultimate favorite things to do. So, those are a couple things about me. And I am currently working as a tutor. I tutor reading and math. Truthfully, I'm not a big fan of reading, but I love math. So, I always get excited when I have more kids that need math help because I honestly am better at that anyways. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I have a couple of other things on the side, but those are my main things that I do. So that's a little bit about me, and as we go through different episodes, I'm going to be sharing some lessons that I've learned, and then I'll kind of tie in some personal stories that have happened to me so that you guys can kind of learn more about me and see what's been going on. So I thought I would just go ahead and off the bat get right into a topic that I feel as though the Lord has been really teaching me since I last ended the podcast. And so that topic is contentment. And I will say, contentment is one of the hardest lessons to learn. And it's an ongoing lesson that I have to remind myself of every single day. So, I'm going to talk about 3 of my biggest battles and where the Lord has been teaching me to be content in them. And I'm currently in these right now, but I felt comfortable enough to do this podcast because I feel very strong in this contentment muscle, but I have to keep training it every single day because if I wake up and I'm not talking to the Lord, then all those previous times of me being discontent and unjoyful just creep back in so easily, and we can't be having that. So, the 3 biggest battles that I have. Number 1, really in no particular order, but number 1 is my health battle, which I believe I shared this in my testimony before. To be honest, I don't remember a lot of the things that I talked about because it was a while ago and I haven't looked at them again. So if some of this is repetitive, I apologize, but also it's coming from a new lens. So I've grown a lot. So health is the one thing that I've really struggled with over the past 5 years, really. It's been just a lot of weird digestive issues, and I have been super fatigued and just felt awful at times. And I won't really get into all the nitty gritty, but it's truly really challenging when you're not feeling well physically and then you try to do anything. Everything seems 10 times harder. And then you have the pressure of, okay, well, I have to work because I have to pay my bills and I have to maintain my friendships and I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I think the hardest thing for me is my heart and my mind are always so excited to do things, but my body sometimes does not align with the way that my heart and mind are. And so then I really wrestle with myself, and I wrestle with a lot of guilt too because there's times where I come home from work and I sleep and I rest and I don't really do much, and then I feel super guilty for not doing anything because there's always so much to do and there's always more work to be done and all the things. And the Lord has really taught me to just rest with Him and give myself grace in those moments because it's okay. I wouldn't be super useful anyways. So it actually would be better for me to rest and then go into those moments. And one of the biggest things the Lord has taught me too is that He will give me strength for whatever He needs me to do. And I really have to pray into that all the time. And then whenever I am really tired or don't feel well, I just give that to Him, and I can actually truly rest instead of resting and partially feeling guilty, which isn't really rest, honestly. So, with contentment, I have a few verses that I want to go over. I'm going to dive into the other two topics too, but I'm going to go over the first verse that I have written down that has really stood out to me. So it's 1 Timothy 6:6-8. But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. So, one of the biggest things is my brain always, with the health aspect, it always goes off into thinking, okay, well, once I feel physically better, then I'll be fine and I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. And my brain is never content because it's thinking, okay, well, once I'm healed, then I'll be content. But what this verse is saying is godliness with contentment is great gain. And so, in all of those health struggles, I have just sat with the Lord and asked Him to help me be content with right where I'm at. And if that means I'm laying on my bed and I can't do much, then He's teaching me how to be content. Or those times when I'm actually feeling really, really good, I can go out and be so much more grateful that I'm out doing things. There's times where I'm out and I just thank God because yesterday I was not feeling like this, and I am just so grateful for the times that I can go out and do things. So this verse always says, but if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. I have always had food and I have always had clothing. The Lord has always provided everything that I've needed. And so in those times of feeling guilty that I'm not doing enough or making enough money because I'm feeling sick, the Lord reminds me, hey, you have all that you need in me. I'm going to give you the basics. I got you, and He will provide in miraculous ways. And so being content in my health situation has been one of the hardest struggles. And I think another tough thing too is, I don't know who has experienced this as well, but when you're feeling really well physically, mentally, you typically accomplish a lot more than you would when you're not feeling well. And so when you know what it's like to feel good and do all the things that you can, accomplish all those things, then you realize, wow, when you're not feeling good, you realize how much you really can't get done. But then I start to compare myself with the way that I was feeling previously. And that's not fair because every single day is different. And we truly can't compare ourselves with our yesterday selves or our future selves or any other version of ourselves because we're different every single day. So, you know, we always talk about comparison with other people and comparing ourselves to other people, but what about comparison with ourselves? Because I always compare myself to my past self and how I was. And I think, oh man, I used to be able to do that, or why could I do this yesterday and I can't do it today? But my body is so different every single day. We are so uniquely and originally designed, and it's really cool when you get into the human body and what you learn and the way that God created us. But when you learn that, just be content with where you're at today because it's exactly where you're supposed to be. And that was another thing the Lord taught me. Hey, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Be content if you're resting on the couch. Be content if you're at work. Be content if you're out hanging out with your friends, because you truly endure so many different circumstances. And if you were content because of your circumstances, you're going to be discontent for the rest of your life. You might have little blurbs here and there where you're pretty content, but for the most part, you're going to be fighting with yourself to be feeling good and content, and that's just exhausting, truly, because I've been there. So, that's the first thing, is health. The second thing that has been a battle most of my life, and to this day, I still wrestle with it. It's gotten significantly better, is finances. So this ties into my health, and just growing up, I always had this scarcity mindset that there was never enough and that I would never make enough and that I would barely just be getting by. And because of that mindset, guess what happened? That's exactly what happened. And so I'm really working on building that mindset right now with the Lord and realizing that I have everything that I need already through Him. And it doesn't matter the amount of money that is in my bank account. But when you have health and finances tied together, it's kind of a scary thing because my brain would literally get in this cycle of, oh, I'm not feeling well. I can't work. I can't make enough money to live and survive. And then I would be like, God, why are you letting this happen to me? You know that I want to work. You know that I want to do great things, but I'm sitting here on the couch. Isn't this wasteful? Like, I want to do things for you. But in all of that, He was training my mind to be content with right where I'm at because there's so many more things that are to come in my life that I have no idea are going to happen. And I don't want to live in a fearful mindset. I want to live in a content mindset and not be afraid of whatever is to come. So, with finances, I've really had to just pray into them and give them to God. And over time, I have had to just every single dollar that I make be like, okay, Lord, this is yours. What do you want me to do with it? And as I've done that, the scarcity mindset has started to go away. And then there's times where things get a little rough and then it starts to creep back in. But then I truly believe the Lord is like, hey, who is your source? Is it your paycheck or is it me? And in this growth of my abundance financial mindset, I feel as though the Lord is breaking off the chains of the scarcity mindset. And that's truly what I want to have because, like I just said, there's going to be so many obstacles that come, and I don't want to be scared of what's to come. I don't want to be scared if I lose my job one day, then it's going to be the end of the world. Could happen. I could go completely broke. I have gone completely broke, and hey, guess who got me out of that? It was the Lord. So I don't want to be fearful of what could happen in that area. I just want to I want to focus on what I do have and stewarding that well. So, I'm going to chime in another verse that I have, which is 2 Corinthians 12:9-2. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. So this verse is so good because whenever I think about myself, I think about all the weaknesses that I have, but then I think, oh, wait, this verse says that I will boast gladly of my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. I want the power of Christ to rest upon me. And so then I get more excited about my weaknesses because then that's where God can come in and be super strong. And so this can be tied into finances or health or the next thing that I'm going to talk about. So both of these verses that I brought up, 1 Timothy 6:6-8 and 2 Corinthians 12:9-10 are about contentment. And so I have one more verse that I'm going to share in the next topic that I have. But the last thing that I wanted to share is jobs. So I have I have had a plethora of jobs, and if you know me, it's almost like every time you have coffee with me, what's your new job? What are you doing now? And the enemy can really get to you in this because the thoughts that I've had are you're not stable, you can't hold a job, you keep switching, so nobody wants you to work for them. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. And I have believed that so many times. So, with jobs, since I was 18 and I had my first job, I am now 27. I actually counted all the jobs that I had, but I don't remember how many there were. I should have checked that for this podcast, but I've had so many jobs, so many different things with education, childcare, sales, marketing, management, the mental health field, the health field, like the natural health field, all the different things. I've tried a lot of different things. And I figured, oh, once I try all these different jobs, I'll find what I really like to do. And here I am. And I like where I'm at now, but it's not where I feel as though I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And so through all the different jobs, it's been challenging to find contentment because I'll go and I'll be working hard and then I have this desire to leave or something happens at work. There's been so many crazy things that have happened at work, and it's within management or I'm not getting enough hours, just all these things. And then you can't help but think, oh, I'm the factor because this has happened every single time. And through all of that, have been a lot of challenges, but it's also been really cool because the Lord has taught me different skills throughout all these different jobs. And He's taught me, hey, there's a purpose and there's a plan for you at this job and this job and this job. And I have a bunch of different friends from all my different jobs, which is cool. But the Lord has really just shown me a lot in that. And I've had to fight all of those feelings of discontentment in the jobs. And so that's been really tough. And even right now, I'm in my job and it's just there's so many great things, but then I have to fight all these thoughts and it's really tough. And then of course you're like I just want to be in my career and I want to know what I'm going to do and I want it to be stable. And truly, I haven't had that luxury of stability. And yes, I'm sure I could go find something that is legit stable on paper, but when I look for those things, it's not right for me. And so my path is much different than other people. And so that has been a challenge for me too. So I want to read another verse here. This is Habakkuk 3:17 through 18. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will take joy in the God of my salvation. So this verse talks about how there's no fruit on the vines, the produce of the olive fails, the fields yield no food, but Habakkuk still rejoices in the Lord. And he says, I'll take joy in the God of my salvation. And so, even though I'm constantly switching jobs or I have to save some money because times are a little bit tough, or I'm lying on this couch dying, not really, but just feeling like I'm dying, I can still rejoice in the Lord. And it's really hard to actually believe that you can do that when you're feeling so bogged down. And so, truly, having different jobs, getting an abundance mindset on my finances, and health. Those are my three biggest battles that I've had for a while. And anytime there's like any journal prompts or people ask you what are the things you're struggling with, these three things are the things that always come to my mind. And sometimes I think, oh, they're always going to be with me. They're never going to go away. They're just hanging out on the back of my shoulders. I know that that's not true because I've seen so much freedom in them already and just in my mindset. And the Lord knows what we need to go through in order to grow closer to Him. And I've had so many more battles in my testimony that I shared in season 1. I talked about how anxiety was a really big monster battle of mine. And truly, I'm so free from that. And that doesn't mean that I don't have anxiety because I do. I have some anxiety here and there. But the way that it was before was literally just this dark cloud of anxiety over me that is really hard to explain, but it was kind of scary. And I truly can say that the Lord has given me freedom from that. And so just looking back on what He's gotten me out of and seeing where I am now has been really, really helpful for these three battles that I'm in at the moment. And another reason I wanted to get the podcast started back up is because I remember during that season of me doing the podcast, it was one of the most joyful seasons of my life. And I truly think it was because I was so in the Word. I was looking for things to talk about and to teach, and I was searching for God in everything because I knew that I had this podcast and I wanted to I wanted to learn more, I wanted to teach more, and so I felt as though it was time to get it back up again so that I could do that because they say whenever you have to teach something or talk about something, you do a lot better job at learning it and and then like retaining the information, because you know that you're going to have to share it and you don't want to look silly when you have to do that. And so I know that for me, that strategy works really well. So I want to practice teaching myself a lot of things so that I can talk about them on here. And I know that that helps with my spiritual growth. And there's truly so many things that I wish somebody would have told me in my life that would have saved me from a lot of chaos. And I'm hoping that I can do that for some of you, because it's a rough life out there. It's hard. And when you're figuring things out and the world's trying to transform you and the enemy's coming at you and you're just hearing all these different things, you don't know what is right and what is wrong and what to do and what not to do. And there's so many things that I could sit here and talk about, but I just wanted to start this first episode off with sharing my battles and my struggles, because it's real. I still have them, but I also want to challenge myself and challenge you guys to be joyful amidst all the circumstances. I remember I was in this tiny little church in Prescott, Arizona one day, and I heard the pastor say, "Focus on God, not on your circumstances." And I will never, ever, ever forget that. That was one of the greatest pieces of advice I had ever heard in my life. And that phrase always sticks in my brain. Focus on God, not on your circumstances, because your circumstances are ever changing and your circumstances are pretty chaotic. Like I said, we live in a crazy world. So I don't want to put my focus and my hope and my faith on my circumstances. I want to put them on God, the creator of the universe, the one who holds the world up with his palm. So that's what I really want to focus on, is bringing in contentment to those few areas of my life. And so hopefully this episode has helped you think about the areas of your life that you want to shed contentment on. And maybe you don't know, maybe you don't even realize that you're feeling discontent, but you can ask the Lord to show you those areas. And one way that you can tell that you're discontent is if you're feeling really angry and bitter or sour just about little things that are happening, then a lot of times that means you're just discontent with what's happening. Because I realize the times when I'm just unhappy about going to work, or I'm unhappy about this thing that I have to do, or just all these different things, then I get really irritable, and I don't really get angry, but I get just kind of snappy. And then when I realize I'm doing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not fun to be around. Who would want to be around me right now? And so then I have to go back and backtrack and think, okay, what am I discontent about right now? What is making me unhappy? And so that's some signs of discontentment. So I'm going to leave it at that. That will be the episode for today. But I'm so glad to be back here with you guys. So make sure to like and subscribe and tell all your friends. And if you have any topics that you want me to talk about or any questions, you can always DM me or text me or call me if you have my phone number. But I will be launching these every other Wednesday. So stay tuned for the next topic. And yeah, I think that is it for now. So I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Well, actually, by the time this is coming out, the holidays will have already been passed, but it's not Thanksgiving yet. So I hope you had a good Thanksgiving and Christmas. Anyways, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.